A mother and her daughter went mushroom picking in the woods. The daughter wandered away from her mother and followed a little sun-shaped figure. It led her to a mushroom clearing shaped like a human body. The young man who had been operating the sun-shaped figure thanked her, and she started collecting mushrooms. That's when she saw a human hand sticking out of the ground. The girl's mother called the police, and they immediately excavated the skeleton. The police officer showed her pictures of missing persons to identify the person she saw, and it turned out to be Albert, who had gone missing in 1975. The police officers didn't believe in ghosts, but the girl's mother recounted a chilling story from her childhood when Albert disappeared. In 1975, in a small mountain village, they found the body of a young priest who had hanged himself inside the church. A local police officer named Sebastian began investigating the case. Despite the sin, they buried the suicide victim according to church customs, as the old priest insisted. When the locals were returning from the funeral, they encountered a beautiful girl wrapped in a shroud. She fainted when they noticed her. Sebastian carried her to the police station and called for a doctor. The doctor determined that she was physically fine but couldn't speak. He suggested taking her to a psychiatric institution, but Sebastian refused. He wanted to uncover the truth and find out what happened to this girl. At the local bar, people were already discussing the appearance of the girl and the death of the church servant. They didn't believe that the priest had taken his own life. Sebastian took the stranger to his former flame, Teresa. She was now married to the local mayor and expecting a child. Sebastian asked Teresa for clothes for the stranger. Teresa gave her a dress and asked Sebastian to go to the mountains to visit Albert and Erwin. She was worried about them because the stranger had brought a figurine that Albert had carved. Sebastian agreed to go. He locks the girl in the police station to keep her safe. In the mountains, he discovers an empty house. When Sebastian leaves, someone's hand with an inflamed mark hits the window. He returns to the village where the priest presides over his station. He attempts to exorcise the devil from the stranger, and she genuinely fears the crucifix. To protect her, Sebastian takes her to his home. Martin came to this village to hide. When he lived in the city, his girlfriend cheated on him, and he killed her. Martin settles with Albert and Erwin, but he doesn't tell them about his crime. He claims his girlfriend simply ran away from him. After an accident, Albert stopped speaking. He has been silent for many years, helping Erwin with the farm, and Erwin hires Martin as an assistant. Martin proves to be a useful worker after he kills a goat bitten by a lynx. Erwin feels sorry for the animal, so he decides to have a drink. Sebastian takes the stranger with him to search through the archives, where he finds an old newspaper clipping featuring the same girl. Sebastian returns to the village and leaves the girl with the local mayor. He then goes to see the investigator who handled the case from the newspaper clipping. The former police officer tells him that the woman was suspected of murders, but she was never found. In Sebastian's absence, the priest appeared with a knife and attempted to kill the girl. The mayor defended her, and she ran away. She came to Teresa, who offered her an apple, and then drew a cross on bread before eating it. The stranger saw the cross, got scared, and attacked Teresa. When Sebastian returns to the village, he learns that his ward has disappeared, and Teresa has lost her child. She curses him for allowing the girl to roam the village. Albert, Martin, and Erwin get drunk on absinthe and decide to make themselves a shepherdess doll to have some fun with someone. They create a straw doll, recite incantations, and it comes to life. Before this, Erwin tells Martin the legend of the shepherdess doll. Long ago, 3 shepherds, longing for female affection, made a similar doll. The devil took pity on them and brought it to life. She helped them not only in the kitchen, but also in bed. After all 3 had slept with her, the doll killed them, skinned them, and stuffed them with straw. Teresa's child was buried in the church. The priest announced that the stranger was to blame for everything and must be killed. In the morning, Albert finds a living girl in the pantry where he had thrown the doll at night. She's the same stranger that Sebastian had protected. Erwin thinks it's the shepherdess doll turned into a human, while Martin believes the girl simply got lost and should be taken to the city before the police arrive. Erwin agrees to take her. However, when alone with her, he realizes he can have anything with her, and to his surprise, she agrees. Albert watches the process. Afterward, Erwin decides to leave the girl in the house in case he wants to have more fun later. Martin decides to take the girl away himself. He shows her the path down the mountain. Erwin follows them. He wants to find his doll. Martin and the girl hide. While alone with her, Martin decides to take advantage of the situation. Then he leads her back to the house. In the evening, Martin and Erwin get drunk and try to get Albert to sleep with the girl. However, Albert couldn't do it. He fled to the barn without even starting, and Martin and Erwin took the girl together. When they woke up in the morning, she slaughtered all of Erwin's livestock and disappeared. After Teresa's baby death, the stranger appeared in Sebastian's house at night. He tried to take her to the city. On the way, they were intercepted by local residents. The girl escaped and they beat Sebastian. Finding the dead animals, Erwin went in search of the girl. He wanted to kill her. Meanwhile, Martin found her in the barn and hid her in the shed, where Erwin kept the absinthe. Upon regaining consciousness, Sebastian went to the church and found a secret passage in the priest's quarters. It led to a hidden room where a young girl had clearly been kept. Erwin discovers Martin in bad condition. He has a blood infection. He sends Albert for absinthe to clean the wound. In the barn, the shepherd doll knocks out the boy. Erwin goes after him, sees the girl, and sets fire to the barn. She escapes through a hatch in the roof. Erwin notices Albert inside and rushes to save him, but he is severely burned. Erwin tries to help him, but he couldn't. The boy dies in his father's arms. Sebastian arrests the priest. Finding the secret passage and the room with the doll, he suspects that the priest once had an affair with the girl from the newspaper clipping, and this girl is her daughter. To cover up his actions, he hid her in the church until she escaped, and during her escape, she attacked the church servant. Sebastian leaves him in the cell and goes to Erwin's place to find the girl. Erwin tries to kill the shepherd doll. He had tied her to the ceiling. Martin intervenes. He found Erwin's gun and wounded him. Martin forces him to untie the girl, and when he does, the doll stabs him in the back several times. However, Martin couldn't kill her. This happened a few days ago. When Sebastian arrived at the house, everything was already over. He was greeted by the stranger. She kissed him, and Sebastian responded to the kiss. The girl had been trying to seduce him all this time, but he had been refusing. Then she led him to the barn, where there were dolls made to look like Martin, Albert, and Erwin, stuffed with straw. It turned out she had been waiting for Martin to die. She skinned him, as well as the others, and made the dolls. She saw Sebastian when he came the last time and followed him. Martin was still alive then. Realizing what had really happened, Sebastian lunges at the girl, but she escapes. She runs into the fog, falls off a cliff, and dies. The woman who remembered all this tells that on that day, there was such a terrible storm that destroyed Erwin and Albert's house. When she finished telling this story, her daughter saw the skeleton of the shepherd doll wedged between the rocks, and the ghost of Albert still wanders in these mountains. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you don't miss the next video. Good luck. Bye.